How's it going, folks? Welcome back to another video. During this whole pandemic crisis that seems to be happening around us, I've just realised my wardrobe's open, so I'm going to fix it. Should probably cut this out, shouldn't I? What am I doing? So if you haven't already, check out my video that I did on feel-good films to be watching right now if you need a bit of a boost to your happiness levels. Strange way of wording it, Stu. But I mentioned in that one that I wanted to do a couple of videos suggesting films for you guys that are on streaming services right now here in the UK if you're in need of things to watch or you're running out of things to watch, because we've all got way too much time to be doing stuff now. Everyone's working from home, everyone's self-isolating. If you're ill, you know you're gonna be home for a while. So what better way to spend those extra hours in weekdays when we would have been commuting, or those cancelled hours on the weekend when we would have been seeing people, to watch shit. To just watch everything ever, to the point where there's no films left. Today we're talking about Netflix, which you might not have heard of. There's a joke. One of the biggest companies in the world. Going to be running through my suggestions on what to watch on Netflix in the UK right now. Films, not TV shows. I might do that one a bit later on. Before we get started, like this video, subscribe, and let me know what you've been watching on Netflix in the comments down below. So I guess we should just get into it. I can't remember how many I've got on this list. More than 10 though. I'm going to try keep it speedy. First up, Shutter Island. Bang. Easy. Very easy suggestion, and might have just always been on Netflix. I don't think it's at risk of going anywhere because it's just always there on my screen when I go on it. And it's probably not one of the main ones I need to be suggesting because I think everyone's probably seen this because it's Leo DiCaprio and it's a Scorsese film. But it goes without saying, it's great if you need a thriller to watch. Shutter Island. Next up is a recent addition to Netflix here in the UK. I want to kind of get a broad range of genres here, so there's something for everyone in here. And I was thinking, you know what? I need to recommend a rom-com, but I don't want to go for the usual rom-coms that everyone's seen time and time again. I want to recommend something new, and this one fits that really, really well. It was a nice little surprise when I saw it in cinemas, and that one is Long Shot. It stars Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron, who you wouldn't expect to be a great on-screen couple, but they are a great on-screen couple. It's kind of eerie, but it's magical. She's a politician. She's the president in this film, right? I can't remember. She's definitely a politician, and he manages to get on her team to write for her, writing her speeches, and they start a little romance. It's a great little rom-com. It's different enough to make it warrant a watch at the moment, but you can also rest assured that it's going to give you all the feels and the good stuff that you need from a rom-com. Next up is a film which, again, you probably have seen, but it's on Netflix, and it would be wrong for me not to recommend it on this list. It's Lady Bird. This was a directorial debut from Greta Gerwig. She recently did Little Woman, so if you saw that and you didn't see Lady Bird and you were thinking, wow, this director's great, I wonder what else she's done. Ding, ding, ding! It's this one. This is what else? This is the other film she's done. Saoirse Ronan leads this one. She's amazing. Bernie Fieldstein's in it. She's amazing. Really, this film's about a few things. It's coming of age in many ways because it's about this girl who's going through a transitioning period in her life. She's coming out of school. But it's also about her relationship with her mother. I think it's done beautifully in this film. It really does make you cry. If you're in need of a good cry, but also not a cry that's going to leave you feeling like totally empty inside, this is probably a good bet. It's really funny, it's really charming in that kind of quirky way that we've come to expect from Greta Gerwig at this point. That won't mean anything if you haven't watched a Greta Gerwig film yet, but just go with it. I love coming of age films, I love films about friendship and family. This has them all. Really, really, really strongly recommend Lady Bird if you have not checked it out already. Next up is Call Me By Your Name, a film in which Timothée Chalamet fucks a peach. I don't need to say much else, you know I love this film. Go watch my review if you need to. Call Me By Your Name, ladies and gentlemen. After this one is, and I realize at this point a lot of these are dramas, but don't worry, the genre shifts are going to come. We're going to get to the other bits, don't you worry. But it's Captain Fantastic, which is a really fantastic... Oh! What, right? Oh, didn't even intend that one. Could have used any other adjective, couldn't you, Stu? It's a brilliant film starring Viggo Mortensen as the father of this family that live in a forest. They live a very isolated, distanced life from the rest of society. But due to tragic events, they have to go on this sort of road trip back to society. And it's just a fantastic... Oh, fuck. It's a great film. It's just a great film. One of my absolute favourite Viggo Mortensen performances. The dude's amazing. You see his Willy. But I love the dynamic of the family here, and I love the relationships between Vigo and each of the kids here. The children are all great in this film. It's difficult to get a lot of good child actors together in one place. They did it. I find it incredibly moving and incredibly emotional, particularly towards the end of this film. It definitely packs a punch. But it's not completely depressing. It's heartwarming. It's wholesome. And it certainly makes you think a lot about society and the way we do things, which is an added sort of element to this film, which just leverages it a little bit above your bog standard drama film. It's also got a stunning soundtrack from Alex Summers. Such a good film. It's just fantastic. I need an electric collar whenever I talk about Captain Fantastic to stop me just saying the fucking word fantastic. Next up is another rom-com, because you can never have too many, especially on Netflix, where it is like a rom-com breeding ground, and it's often quite difficult to find the right one. It's No Strings Attached. Weird choice, Stu. I know. Let me explain. No Strings Attached is a rom-com which came out, I'm pretty sure it might have come out before, but certainly around the exact same time as Friends with Benefits. You've definitely seen Friends with Benefits because it's got Mila Kunis when Mila Kunis was huge, and it's got Justin Timberlake in it, and it's a great rom-com, absolutely. And No Strings Attached is, how do I put this, almost exactly the same as Friends with Benefits with a different cast. But let me tell you, this might be a hot take, it's better than Friends with Benefits. What? Hold on. Because Natalie Portman's in it, and also Ashton Kutcher's in it. So there you go. It's just a great rom-com. Obviously, it falls into a lot of traps that rom-coms fall into. Not sitting here saying it's the best film ever made. It ain't that. But it is incredibly wholesome. Definitely a good time. It's the exact sort of film you want to be whacking on if you don't want anything too dense and you just want to enjoy pretty people having relationships and also going through some turmoil around the middle acts, but coming out of it quite alright on the end. Now we're going to take a complete left turn to Prisoners, which is very much not a rom-com at all. This is a very heavy film. It's also quite long, so bear that in mind before you're picking what to watch. It's just got a lot to it. It's very mysterious, but it's also very tragic, and it's got some incredible performances from Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, though, who's one of my favourite working directors at the moment. He did Arrival, he did Ensomnia, he did Sicario, he did Blade Runner 2049. All of his films are brilliant. This one is no different. Probably one of my favourites of his. Not my favourite, but one of. It's really, really brilliant, but definitely prepare yourself for quite a heavy film. I mean, not quite. It's very heavy. Not one to watch with a family. At all. Ever. Next up is another kind of deep thriller of a film. We're there now. We're going to just stick for a bit, and then we'll get onto happy ones in a bit. It's You Were Never Really Here, which is directed by the amazing Lynn Ramsey and stars the also amazing Joaquin Phoenix. If you saw Joker and you thought, I love that performance and I love that character and I love the general look of this film and feel of it and tone, good for you, because it's pretty much all here. Better. Same actor giving a better performance that is similar vaguely in terms of tone and thematics, but is just an infinitely more interesting character. But also, aside from that, it's brilliant in its own way as well. It's got a fantastic score from Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. So if you're a Radiohead fan, watch this for the score alone, definitely. And it's also nice and short. I think it's under 90 minutes, which is rare for a film like this. You'd think that they would just push it out, 2.5 hours, wham, character study. But no, this is a really short, tight, concise film. So it won't take up too much of your evening. It's brutal in places, and it can be quite harrowing and quite tough to get through, but I genuinely recommend it because I think it's a really interesting watch. Now to something a little bit more lighthearted. It's Ingrid Goes West. Now, I recently recommended this to my sisters plural, and they watched it, and I was like, yep, they're going to love it, let's see how they do. They got back to me, and they hated this film. I cannot tell you how much they hated this film, to the point it may have ruined any suggestions I give them from here on, because I think they've just cancelled my opinions on anything now. So, that was a shock. Don't let that put you off taking my recommendations right now, though. I think it's amazing, and I'm a huge fan of Aubrey Plaza. I love her, and I think she does some strange roles, but really, really interesting and fun and entertaining roles, and I think her role here is probably my favourite performance from Aubrey Plaza. I find it really, really funny. It's incredibly current with the whole topic of, like, social media ruining people and people fighting for likes and stuff. Can be quite a, I don't know, it's a theme which can come off as quite, fucking here we go again. But I think this film does a really good job of doing it in an interesting and refreshing and fun, pulpy way. Next up is a sort of thriller, dark comedy that I didn't realise was on Netflix, but it is, because I checked this morning. It's Thoroughbreds. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Olivia Cooke, both actresses who I think are brilliant, and they are particularly brilliant in this film. I won't go into too much about the plot, because I think you'll appreciate it without knowing much about it when you go into it, but rest assured, it's dark. It's very funny in very dark ways, but both performances are interesting and captivating and just off. There's something off about everything in this film, which works really well for it. Gorgeously shot, the cinematography is amazing, and the way the camera moves around the space in this film is really, really impressive. It's also got Anton Yelchin in it, and what I think was his final performance. Rest in peace, I love that man. He's great in this as well. Definitely check out Thoroughbreds if you have not already. Next up is a comedy, one of my favourite comedies. And I might get heat for this because there's almost definitely going to be a lot of people that are like, no, it isn't funny at all. It's Mr. Deeds, which is an Adam Sandler film. And that might be strange to pick Mr. Deeds as the Adam Sandler film of choice here, because he has done a lot of other comedies. Some of his newer ones, complete dog shit. A lot of his older ones, great. But Mr. Deeds is the one that I wanted to recommend, because I didn't want to sit here and say, yeah, go watch Happy Gilmore, because you've definitely been told that a lot through your life. I feel like Mr. Deeds is one of those Adam Sandler films that not a lot of people have actually seen versus his other more well-known classics. And Mr. Deeds is hilarious. I'm not going to sit here and say it is an amazing film, because it isn't. It's not particularly great as a film. A lot of the jokes are done, very dated and silly, but it just makes me laugh so much, this film, without fail, every time. One of the last kind of great Adam Sandler comedies before he started to go just whatever's happening. Also, while we're here, he was fucking robbed by the Oscars. I should really be recommending Uncut Gems. I'm not gonna. Call this a sort of recommendation within a recommendation. Don't tell mum. Next up on silly comedies, Wet Hot American Summer. Wet Hot American Summer is so funny. And it's filled with everyone ever. I mean, there's like Paul Rudd, Ken Marino, who else have we got? Molly Shannon, Bradley Cooper's in it, Amy Poehler's in it. I mean, Elizabeth Banks is also in it. Directed by David Wayne, who's one of my favourite comedy directors because he just doesn't give a shit what you want as an audience. If he finds it funny and weird, he'll just do it. And so you find a lot of scenes really have no point, almost no punchline at all. The joke is just that it's weird, and the joke is just that it is not going the way you expect it to be going. A lot of things don't make sense in his films in the absolute best way possible, and all of the actors just seem to have so much fun with it. It's hilarious, it's endlessly rewatchable, it's a classic comedy. It might not be for everyone, it's a very particular type of comedy, I guess, but I definitely recommend checking it out. And also, yes, as I said, check out the TV series that Netflix did aside from that, because they are very, very funny as well. Finally, another U-turn. We go into Mother, which is directed by Darren Aronofsky. Not my favourite Darren Aronofsky film, but it is really fucking good. And it actually got something like one of the lowest cinema scores across audiences in the US, which is even better. I mean, that's just a good thing at this point for films like this. I like that this film makes a lot of people that watch it go, oh, I don't know what's happening, I don't like it. Because it usually means that film's probably more interesting. Well, it sounds wanky to say that though, doesn't it? I love this film. Not for everyone, but definitely still worth a watch even if you end up not liking it anyway. It stars Jennifer Lawrence as a mother, whoa, stuck in this house with a husband, and things are going a little bit strange. That's all I'm going to say. But I really like the themes and the metaphors in this film and the way it looks at that and uses cinematic language to deliver its message and to deliver its analogies. I just think there's like a 40-minute stretch at the end of this film, which is just amazing. I absolutely love it. The way it transforms itself continuously as a film. It's really, really dark, pretty fucked up at points. I mean, there's some really horrible shit in here, and it is the exact type of film that when you finish it, you just sort of think, I don't really know what I just watched. And also, Darren Aronofsky has a fun name to say. And finally, we have a film which I think really recently got added to Netflix here in the UK. I'm not sure. I was just scrolling the other day and I was like, oh man, it's on here. I was about to buy the Blu-ray because I couldn't find it on any streaming services anywhere. It's Paul Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread. I've only seen this film twice. It is immaculate. I love this film. Paul Thomas Anderson is probably one of, if not my favourite American filmmaker at the moment. This film was very different and similar to a lot of his other films. It's not my favourite one. And when I was watching it first time, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, I guess, or what I was supposed to be getting from it. But as you get through this film and get to the end, it all starts to click and things start to work. And then you finish this film, and if you're anything like me, you're thinking, I need to watch that again. because it just won't leave my mind. It's one of those films which just clings to your head, but it is not a typical relationship that we're used to seeing explored on screen, and I love that about it, and I love the way it explores that. It's gorgeous to look at. Paul Thomas Anderson was actually the cinematographer as well as a director on this one, and it is stunning for it. It's got a really wicked sort of sense of humor as well, dotted throughout, which I really appreciated. And it's got a stunning score again from Johnny Greenwood, who already did a score for another film on this list, and who is quickly becoming one of the more interesting new voices in film scores. And I love that. I love Radiohead, so that's good. That is always good. But it's just a gorgeous film to get wrapped up in, and I absolutely adore it. I think it's stunning. But just like that, we're at the end of my list of films which you should be checking out on Netflix UK right now. If you're in the US, some of these might be on there. I don't know. So let me know what you've been watching on Netflix down in the comments below. Recommend it to people. We'll get a big discussion going. Fun times. A whole load of content to be watching at the moment. I'll see you guys shortly for another video. I'll be talking about my Amazon Prime Video recommendations. We're just working our way through the streaming platforms, baby. But until then, stay safe. Don't do anything stupid like slap an oldie. Just not going to be good for anyone, is it? Hopefully this video's helped you pick some things, because Lord knows it can be difficult scrolling through Netflix at the best of times. Stay beautiful, mother truckers.